We're live.
Okay, cool. Okay. Do we wait a little bit?
No, I can see people coming in.
Oh, you can? How do you see that?
On the bottom, the participants, the numbers.
Oh,
going
cool.
up.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey. So we give them another 4 minutes for people to join. Do you have any jokes?
What did the one-eyed dinosaur say?
Wait, what?
Language barrier already.
Yeah, sorry. So just so that people know, I'm from Mexico. English is my second language. And then Ruth is like super British.
Northern, which makes it even harder to understand.
Yes. So, okay.
Oh, people are saying things on the chat. Hello. Yay. Hello, Amanda.
Good evening,
Hi.
good morning, good afternoon.
Yeah, let us know where you are, because for me, it's like 9:30 at night. And for Stephanie, it's the afternoon.
Yeah. LA, nice. Canada, my sister lives there, Alberta. Istanbul, nice. So wait, can you repeat the joke while we're
So the joke was, what do you call a one-eyed dinosaur?
A one-eyed dinosaur. What do you call it? I don't know. Cyclops. What do you call them?
A do you thinkosaurus?
Do you think? Oh.
I told
do
you
you think he saw it? Yeah. Because in England, you guys put the R's between words. Saurus. Like here, we would say saw us. Like there's like a gap between the W and the. Sorry, I had to. Saurus. That's cool. Did I just ruin the joke? I'm so sorry.
North, UK. Yay! Hi, Samson. By the way, I am very dyslexic, so I'm like really looking at the names to check that I pronounced them correctly. So I apologize now.
That's totally fine. I didn't know you were dyslexic.
Yeah, it mainly affects like spelling. Anyone follows me on Twitter will be like, yeah, I tend to miss out words or not quite spell them correctly. So if you ever get like a garbled message from me, it's mainly because I've just missed out all the important things.
Okay. Nice.
So you've got to tell a joke now. We've got a minute before we start the panel.
Oh, well, I called you out and I don't have any jokes, so I don't know what to say. This is horrible. I don't think I know any. I mean, probably heard of them, but like I don't save them in my brain.
Do you have like knock jokes? Do you do knock jokes?
I mean, I know about them and people do them around me, but I don't know any.
I was gonna say, I don't think that's just a British thing. I think
no,
across like
Alexa. I don't have Alexa. I have Google.
I don't have anything listening in the house.
That's good.
Apart from my iPhone.
Well, yeah. All right. I think it's time to start.
Oh, we've just had a joke put in. Have you seen?
I don't see it.
I would tell you a chemistry joke, but all the good ones are gone.
Oh. I get it. Oh. That's good.
And on that note, let's start the conversation.
Let's get started. So yeah, this is just supposed to be like a hangout chat with us. I met Ruth a year ago at Maker Central. Well, we met before that on Skype, which is pretty cool. So on social media, I had heard of them, kids invent stuff, and you're going to talk a lot more about it. I just want to say how we met. And we had a Skype call because they knew that I was going to come to Maker Central. We wanted to do something together. We met on Skype, we talked about it, and then we met finally at Birmingham, UK. So yeah, I'm excited to do this. Now, you introduce yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my name's Ruth, and I am an inventor. I started inventing when I was at school. I designed a mobility product, which helps people go up and down their own stairs. And in doing that, kind of got thrown into this whole world of inventing and engineering and STEM. And along that journey, having done lots of things, from starting a business to sell the product that I invented, through to working to inspire and engage more young people into engineering and STEM, and to get them to think about inventing and engineering. I started a project with my friend Sean called Kids Invent Stuff, which is a YouTube channel where every month we set a different invention challenge, and 5 to 11-year-olds submit their invention ideas as pictures or videos, and then Sean and I build them and bring them to life. And that was where Stephanie and I met, because we wanted to do a project together. So we've done a few collaborations since, but our first collaboration was with a very big rainbow unicorn.
Yeah.
And we actually worked on the project completely remotely. So we each came with our 2 separate components. Sean and I had this giant rideable rainbow unicorn, and Stephanie came with all the clever stuff to make it work. So essentially, the unicorn, you could sit and you could ride on it, and if you lifted up its tail, it would poop jelly beans. And it was an amazing invention by a little girl called True. And Stephanie had this idea that wouldn't it be cool if people could tweet it, and then it would poop jelly beans. And so actually across the Maker Central, we actually made something across the weekend.
I know. I don't even know how we made that work, because, okay, so yeah, I programmed the thing a couple days before. I actually had to go to the Raspberry Pi store in Cambridge to be able to do it, because I didn't have a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse. So they let me borrow their stuff at the store. It kind of looks like the Apple store. It has a lot of monitors and stuff. So I sat there for a couple hours or 3, and I wrote all the code, put it in the Raspberry Pi, and then just, hope for the best going into Maker Central. Like, I hope this works when we plug it all in together, but it didn't work. It's just really crazy. We did spend a lot of time integrating our work.
Yes, it took a while, and a little bit of help from Pimaroni as well, who were there at Maker Central to help us. But if you want to see a picture of the unicorn, I can see people asking in the chat. It was actually the picture for the top of our for this talk. Actually, we put a picture of Stephanie and I on the unicorn. So, and there is a video on our YouTube channel as well if you want to have a look.
Yeah, but hey, I want to go back to when you were talking about how you got started. You said you started in school, like inventing in school. Like, what grade was it? When?
So I was 15. And I didn't know I wanted to be an inventor. I didn't think that I could be an inventor. Mm-hmm. But in the UK, we do GCSE exams when we're 16, and you study for those for 2 years. So as part of my GCSEs, I decided to study design and technology, essentially. And I had to do a piece of coursework for that. And as part of that, my teacher set me the challenge to invent something to help his dad, who couldn't get up and down his stairs, to be able to use his stairs safely. And it all kind of spiraled out of control from there. But I kind of just became an accidental inventor. I didn't think that it would end up being my job. Even when I designed the product, it was only after I'd won an engineering award that I thought, oh, I could be an engineer. I could be an inventor.
That is so cool. Yeah. That's so young too. Like, I didn't know that. I never asked you that when we first met. So that's why it's like when we were talking about like, oh, what are we going to do for Maker Faire? And then we started talking, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't really know that much about your past. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we became where we are, I guess. But yeah, people found the YouTube video.
Oh yeah, well done. Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Oh,
so Stephanie, tell us. Oh, it's another question.
There is a question.
Shall we answer that at the end of it? I'll let you introduce yourself, and then we'll.
I haven't,
we'll
right? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, tell people what you do.
Who am I? Yeah. So my name is Stephanie. Hey, Stephanie, like you're from Brooklyn. Hey, Stephanie. People ask me, they don't know how to pronounce it, so I like to say that. But yeah, I I didn't know how I could become an inventor or if I even could. I always saw the movie, like I really liked the movie Honey, I Shrunk the Kids when I was little growing up. And it was like this inventor with this giant laser beam thing. And I thought that you had to go to like Harvard or be like a genius to become an inventor. So I didn't know what that meant. So anyways, fast forward, I ended up studying computer science because I liked it and I like programming. And then I realized that I could use that, and I've been learning electronics on my own and making things. And I always called it like, I'm making things, I'm making things. But then I didn't really correlate that, oh, it's like inventing, right? I'm essentially an inventor as well. So it was much later than I realized that when I was making a project, it was essentially inventing. So yeah, I have a YouTube channel like Ruth, but mine is just by myself. I don't have a co-host. I wish sometimes. um, and mine is not. I like your idea of like making the inventions of kids. It's such a genius idea. Mine is just whatever I end up inventing, and then I make a video about it. But I also like making tutorials, and I like to share my knowledge online because that's how I'm learning right now. So I make sure that I teach or show how I made things so that anyone could do it as well. And I share everything, the code and schematics, da da da. And that's me.
I think one of the things that we had conversations on quite early is that both of us talk a lot about how we failed in making as well, that actually neither of us kind of go, oh, we're the best at this, or we can do that, or this went right first time. It never goes right first time. And we like to talk a little bit about that. Question from John: how do you stay interested in making, and did you get a lot of pushback from your classmates?
Well, you go first.
So the nice thing about the projects that I do, so I started off kind of when I first invented the stair study, I had probably about 10 years where I ended up in a very, although I worked for myself, it was still very corporate. So I was kind of like on a lot of boards and advising and constantly, because I was quite young, having to act older than I was, and quite often being the only like woman in the room and things like that. And it was really interesting and I learned loads, but I found that I didn't really enjoy the corporate-y thing, and I wasn't making or designing in the same way. And so the great thing about Kids Invent Stuff is it has allowed me to really get back into that. And I was really rusty when we started. I hadn't really made stuff in a very long time. And so the nice thing about the channel is we do something different every month. We are constantly learning. Nothing is really the same. So the great thing about it is if we're making something and we don't enjoy the process, well, it's fine, because next month it'll be completely different. But if we do enjoy something and we learn something new, then we can think, oh, well, let's use that again, or let's have a go. Like I've got really into welding, and although I'm not great at the moment, I'm practicing, I really enjoy it. So I'm like, at every opportunity, I'm like, can we weld this? Like, can we fit this in?
Can we weld this? Yeah. But I see your welder helmet or mask there.
So yeah. I have all my kit here, but the workshop is, so I'm in Sheffield and the workshop's in Cornwall. So it's like hundreds of miles away and my welder is in the workshop. So I'm having like separation anxiety. But yeah, so for me, it's just kind of constantly finding new things and challenging myself to have a go at making something that I didn't think I could make before that. And the second bit about classmates, I don't think people really understood, even at the time when I was inventing, what it was really. So now a lot of people were supportive. Now the thing about having a YouTube channel is that anyone can watch it. Yeah. So yeah, there is that thing where people are like, oh, what do you do? Or like they see something on Facebook and you're like, yeah, it's a slightly interesting thing where we create weird and wacky inventions. And I think, yeah, the whole playful element is massive within the channel. And if I look back to like my corporate and very serious part of my career now, I sometimes forget like I have to be serious in some situations still, because I still run a business and I want to play and have all the kind of Kids Invent Stuff fun.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
How about
Um,
you?
Let me think. I was thinking, I was like, it's pretty, so how did you stay interested in making? It's kind of like yours. It's always different. So to me, it's like I'm playing, I'm learning something new. But if it is tedious and hard, and I'm already into deep, it's like you, I'm like, okay, next one is not going to be like this at all. or or I do learn a lot of new things and I'm like, I'm definitely going to, I want to use this for the rest of my life. With everything I do. So I think that's the interesting part of being able to be a maker or an inventor, is that you can play with as many techniques, as many new skills as you want to, and then you keep whatever you like and then be like, okay, I try that but not for me. And like, good for people who can do that, but I definitely cannot. There's a lot of things like that. I definitely do get a lot of people tell me like, oh no, I don't like coding, I tried it and I didn't like it. I'm like, totally get it, it's not for everybody and it's totally fine. But same with me, I love to see people do woodwork, but I don't think I have the skills. Like I want to learn, and I've learned a little bit, but I don't think I could go that far as to building like a really nice table. I can. But and then I didn't get, well, pushback from my classmates. I don't think I was ever inventing, or maybe I was, but I didn't know when I was in school. So I don't think there was any pushback. But if you are, I don't know why you're asking this, and if you are being pushed back by anybody, your classmates, your coworkers, or anybody, I think this is a hobby that is for you. And I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, maybe what people think or say, like you do it for you, not, hopefully don't be stopped by other people.
I think sometimes it's easy to forget that there's a big wide world out there when you're at school still, or when you're studying, and there's a smaller group, or even at university, you you end up kind of being influenced by that small group around you. And as soon as you leave that, you realize that actually there's a big wide world, and actually that there are people, even if you feel like your classmates don't have the same interests as you, out there are people who do.
Oh, that's why there's a maker community and maker fairs to meet people like you.
And it
Yeah.
says, how interesting, how do girls keep interested? Okay. I mean, one of the things that we do with Kids Invent stuff is we try and show, I think there is some kind of a lot of unconscious bias out there around kind of making and inventing and engineering. And quite often, so there's a lot of research around when young people form their ideas about careers, and people thought it was a lot later, but actually it's a primary school. So I don't know if this is internationally, but particularly in the UK, a lot of research has gone into the fact that actually particularly girls form their opinions around what careers they can and can't do as early as like 7. And quite early they'll be like, oh no, I don't want it, I can't do science, I can't do engineering. And it's about, at that age, really showing them role models, getting them interested, really encouraging them and showing them that they can. And the thing that I found inventing a product and seeing it come to life and then it actually be sold, but people using that product, was that whole journey of something that I'd drawn on a sheet of paper being used and come to life, was a really big moment of like, oh, things get made, this is how it works, sort of thing. And so that's what we try and do with Kids Invent stuff. But that's just like, there's no silver bullet. That's one little thing. And it's kind of lots of those little interactions. I think there's some other research that says that you need up to about 15 meaningful interactions with young people to get them interested in STEM.
That's a lot of interactions. Yeah, wow. I didn't know that. I know that, so I don't actively try to do that, so that's why I don't have like a concrete answer to this, but I can give you my experiences, which was like, I growing up, I didn't know any engineer or anyone in science around me. No one in my family was that is that. And all I know is that it took me a while to get to where I was, like in college, to decide to do computer science. And it was definitely role models. For me, it was like seeing people who I thought I could be like, that really impacted me and made me think like, oh, I guess I could do that. Like, I know, I don't know. It's just definitely when I was little. It's so funny that you mentioned that age. I think I was around 8 when I watched a movie that stayed with me forever, and it's Contact. with Jodie Foster from the 90s, and it's about this scientist, and she's really cool. And well, I mean, actually no, it's like really long and boring movie for a little kid, but for some reason I loved it when I was little, and I was like, she's so cool, I want to be like her. And so I think the more we expose, hopefully more female role models, the better, for sure. Yeah, it is a great movie.
I think media has a massive impact on these things. So I remember growing up and watching, in the UK, we had TV shows like Scrap Heap Challenge, where people would go into a scrapyard and they'd build these amazing inventions. We'd have like Robot Wars. And they were great programs, but a lot of the women just presented, they didn't necessarily make. And things like Robot Wars have been relaunched. And have feature now in their kind of later series a lot more women. But I think at the time I just never really saw that many women in it, particularly things like Scrap Heap Challenge. I used to love like watching them create these things, but I just couldn't necessarily see myself in that. And I think media has a massive part to play, and particularly YouTube now, because that's where young people watch YouTube like we used to watch TV.
That's exactly right. I think for sure finding more role models in pop culture, specifically YouTube, is great because of that. And I think this is also one of the reasons why you and I are sharing it on YouTube and on Instagram and all these platforms. But yeah, definitely more role models. It is definitely important. I'm also answering his question like, yeah, it's definitely important to have women role models for sure. I think so, because I follow I mean, I also wanted to be Madonna, you know? So it was like, I would see these amazing women and I was like, oh, wow, that is so cool. And I saw Jodie Foster as a scientist and I was like, oh, that would be cool to be a scientist. So I guess it definitely stuck with me. And that's why I brought it up like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there is an age at school where maybe doing like science and maths and engineering maybe isn't seen as cool.
Yep.
And I think actually having those role models and kind of changing that perception. And a lot of the young people that I see who have wanted to be in STEM from quite an early age have maybe have like that outside influence, maybe like that film that you've said, or, you know, they've watched a certain program, or they've been to an event and met a certain person. And I think that kind of keeps them going through some of the kind of negative outside influences. And I also think parents have a really big role to play. You know, I know that, you know, when I go into schools and like do prize givings, parents are like, oh, I thought engineering was dirty. Like I didn't want my little girl to go into this because I thought it was like really male dominated. And there are parts that still are, but also it's changing, and it's such a vast subject. And I think sometimes parents just say, oh no, I don't think that would work for you.
Yeah, definitely. The biases. Like my parents never didn't. My mom, okay, not spoiler, like just maybe my mom thought I was not good at math, but that was because she was not good at math. And it took me a while to realize that I was actually pretty good at math. So it's just like, don't impose like your own biases and perceptions into your kids, because that could happen. Just because I didn't get fractions right away when I was in 4th grade doesn't mean I was not going to be good at math. So yeah, that too, like definitely encourage them to keep trying and see what happens. Yeah.
And also a lot of creative people do think differently. So
Yeah.
I know lots of, you know, we were at the beginning talking a bit about dyslexia. There are lots of amazing creative people who have dyslexia or dyspraxia or lots of different things that actually they see the world in a different way. And because of that, that makes them great inventors and engineers and problem solvers. And I think that actually within the school system, sometimes those things are said, well, you're not good at this, or you know, it takes you a long time to do this job. Well, actually in the real world, it doesn't matter. Or you can have a calculator, or actually it's about the way that you think. And I think sometimes the school system says to students, you're not good at this, you should stop. Whereas actually in the real world, in a career, they'd be amazing at it.
Exactly. Oh, that's a really good point that I also want to bring up. Like, at least over here in the States, they make you choose what you're going to study in like community college, like after high school, probably. I didn't do high school here, so I don't know. But they make you choose like, oh, are you going to do a bachelor's of arts or sciences? because you're either good at sciences and math or you're not. Basically, you're going to be a writer, you're not going to do science, or you're going to, and it's like so weird to me to think, because I feel like I'm a very creative person who also loves the arts. I could play the piano, I could learn how to paint or whatever, or be a writer. I'm not, but I could, and still be good at the sciences. So I think like dividing people up, it doesn't make any sense to me, because the best engineers are the ones who are good at both, I think.
I think we've got
Yeah.
a thing on here that says
Okay.
the webinar will continue, but the stream will not.
Okay. So people join us in the webinar, and we're going to be taking questions from my Instagram post. Yay. So